I'm Arthur Moats, and I'm here to tell you about my new book, The Moats Theory of Life. If you haven't picked up a copy yet, I strongly encourage you to. This book not only is a fun read, but it's a guide to helping you become a person of impact and inspiration. If you are ready to take the next step to improving not only your life, but those around you as well, go get a copy of The Moats Theory of Life, and it's available at moatstheory.com.
What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? How art thou?
I'm doing good, dude. Loving life.
Hey, man.
No complaints.
We figured we'd switch it up on them a little bit, man. Give them a little of the social distancing virtual podcast recording today. So, you know what I mean? Just show how diverse and how versatile we are.
And just to let people know, we're not recording on Zoom either.
No, because what about bringing it up? I was like, yo, Deke, I got the text like, man, I done work with the Steelers, but we're doing Zoom and all this other stuff. How you feeling about it? And I was like, nah, Deke don't want that.
I would have done it, honestly, because I was going to ask you whenever we brought it up about like potential things we could be doing. You brought it up first that, hey, let's do the FaceTime, let's do our video recording on the iPhones and all that. I thought you were going to mention Zoom, but you didn't bring it up. I was going to do it if you were willing to.
The thing, man, I'm always torn with Zoom. I think Zoom, if we're talking about having a guest on, instead of doing the FaceTime to the phone call, Zoom is probably like the smoother way to do it. But when I'm just watching some of the Zoom interviews I've done on other people's stuff, if the signal isn't clear, then choppy, the audio isn't syncing up with the video, and that drives me nuts. So and we're gonna roll with that, man. But something that we do know very well is it was a historic weekend in NASCAR, man. We had two big races back to back. Right here, man. Got my Kevin Harvick number 4. Shout out to Busch. First time in NASCAR history, man. They had 2 NASCAR Cup Series races back to back this weekend, man. It's something that they already had planned. It wasn't because of COVID. They just wanted to try it, and it was in Pocono. Shout out to Pennsylvania, man, making history. But boy, man, he did his thing, man. Two races. He won the race on Saturday, and then got second place on Sunday. It's funny because Denny Hamlin, who was the guy who won on Sunday, he actually got second place on Saturday as well. So we literally flip-flop back to back. And of course, both of us have, now he has 4 wins on the season, and my boy he's sitting at 3 right now. So, you know, but we're still winning the cup.
I was going to say, he's still in first. He's got to be still in first, right?
Yeah, in first right now. So it's definitely good, man. But dude, it was an exciting race, man. Pocono, they call it the oh my goodness, the something triangle. It's like a triangle course because they only have 3 corners where your traditional tracks will have 4 corners. But man, it was awesome, dude. Like, you seeing the crashes taking place, the speed they were playing with, man, or racing with, excuse me. And it was just intense, man, the whole time. And I know Sunday, that race in particular, because of the weather, it was questions in terms of whether they would either be able to finish the race or not. So you start seeing the strategy going into it in terms of guys pitting versus not pitting, taking chances. I mean, it was one time, man, a cat went and just got 2 right tires. That's what my guy Harvick did on Saturday. He just got 2 tires and ended up winning the race. So then on Sunday, you see Denny Hamlin do the same thing, get 2 tires.
Wait, what does that mean, 2 tires?
So when you go to pit, right, some guys will get 4 fresh tires.
Okay.
Some guys just get 2 fresh tires. But when you only get 2 fresh tires, you got to worry about the wear on the tread because of how you're driving on the track. And that helps with, like, your grip in terms of accelerating and things like that. So when you see a guy only take 2 tires, it's risky because you're like, man, depending on how long he's out there, the wear on the other side now is going to get picked up and he's going to need to switch it. Excuse me. But the thing is, if from a timing standpoint, when you're going to pit road, man, these dudes are trying to get 4 new tires, gas in less than 20, 30 seconds. So every second counts. So what you do, you only get 2 tires, so you're going to have a faster pit.
Yeah.
Everybody came in the pit at 10, you know what I mean, at the 10 spot. You take 2 tires, everybody else taking 4. Well, now you're leaving pit row at the 1 spot.
Yeah.
Big difference. And then from there, you're obviously racing in front where you get what they call the clean air. And what the clean air means, man, is nobody restricting you. So you're able to just hit it as fast as you want to go. Whereas sometimes when you're behind people or caught in traffic, it slows you down because the airflow on the car and the car behind you. So, yeah, man, it was cool seeing the strategy. Sunday, one dude went and he got no tires and literally he got like a splash of fuel. They were like, man, by my calculations, this guy's gonna run out of gas. There's like 4 laps left. He literally pits. The dude comes in, quick squirt, he gets back out there, bro. It was crazy.
Wow. Wait, so with the like how often do they switch tires?
Well, so it depends. Some people will do it like every 30, 40 laps. Some people will spread it out even further. It's all about.
So they were just doing 2 tires every time. Is that what it was?
No. So he had times where they were doing the full 4 tire, right? The
okay.
Full 4. But when it gets late in the race, when it's like 50 laps or less,
time is really sensitive.
Time is huge, especially when you know, okay, these guys in front have to go pit. All right, so when they go pit, I'm a pit. But how can I catch them and get ahead of them on pit road? And that's some of the strategy that goes into it.
Was this the first time you've seen this? Is it because of the course?
Well, no. So I've seen them do it before, but never where it led to a guy winning.
Oh, okay.
Who were like in the back just trying to like move up a little bit for the pole position and stuff like that. But this is my first time seeing it where it actually worked out and they won from it. So that was the part that I was like, dang, all right, I like this.
Damn. So why'd they decide to do 2 back-to-back like that?
So I'm still trying to figure that out. This was the first time that they done it. And they said they had this scheduled when the schedule initially came out before COVID and everything. This was something that they wanted to try. So I was like, man, all right, cool. But
what was the bigger one? What was the more prestigious win?
Well, the thing was, both races were just as equal or just as big. Like, they imagine, so you know how they had Talladega, I think it was 2 weeks ago, then they were in Bristol. Imagine just having Talladega and Bristol, both races just back-to-back days.
Yeah.
Big races. So that's how they did it, man. Almost the equivalent of a Sunday night to a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Like, it counts heavily. It's just a shorter turnaround. So I'm not sure the thought process that went into it, but they did it, man. And I loved it, man, because usually you'll watch the one big race and then you got to wait till the middle of the week or you got to wait till the weekend for another big race. But being able to just watch 2 back-to-back and they were shorter. So most of the races this season are 300 laps. 300 miles, 400 miles, or 500 miles. And obviously you have a 600-mile race, which is a lot longer. You're talking a difference of 200-300 laps. Whereas this one right here was a lot shorter. It was, I think, 140, 150 per race in terms of laps. So that's a lot quicker than your traditional 300-lap races where you got 3 separate stages. Oh, this stage is 100 laps. That stage is 110 laps. You know what I mean? So for me, that part I enjoyed a lot more because from an attention span standpoint, you don't have to sit there for just a crazy long time. Now, obviously, Sunday we did because of the weather, but if weather is fine, I mean, you can get that race done in a couple of hours tops.
I was going to say, how many hours are you committing to these races? Because from my standpoint, growing up, a lot of my cousins, distant cousins, they loved NASCAR, and I never really understood it. Every time they had it on, it seemed like it was going all day. And I was like, how do you guys pay attention to this? So you're saying it's only a few hours, actually?
Yeah, so with the races back-to-back, it was a lot shorter. But obviously Sunday lasted longer because of the weather. They had they had a lightning delay and then they had a rain delay in the middle of it. So obviously, just like with the NFL, lightning strikes, you got to wait, I think it's 30 minutes before you can get back on the track. So that kind of put a damper in it. But other than that, though, man, just from watching it and saying that, man, it's sometimes when you're watching a race and you're like, bro, this is like long right now. Like we're only in stage 2. Like, bro, this is crazy. But it flew by, so I loved it, man. Like for me, I will prefer this a lot more. But obviously, there were some other like things that they put into it in terms of the regulations. So usually, you'll race on Sunday and then you can switch and bring a different car the next race you have. This one, they made it mandatory that you keep the same car that you raced with the day before, which is different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the thing was, say you wrecked your car or you just didn't like the setup, you could bring in a new car, but you had to start in the back of the field.
Oh, wow.
Part was different. And then also, typically, say you win the race. So like when Harvick won on Saturday,
yeah,
he would start in first place the next race. They invert the lineup though. So literally 1 through 20, however you finish, you flip flop for the next race. So the guy who ended in 20th on Saturday started on Sunday. It was crazy, man.
How many? Yeah, and how many racers are there then total? Is there like there's got to be at least 40 or 50 then, right?
No. It's typically, let me see where we're at. It's 40 guys.
Yeah. So okay, so it's two inverses there. It's the 1 to 20 and then the 20 to 40.
Yeah, so it was crazy, man. Just seeing because from a strategy standpoint, that changes everything again. Because what you could do when you're in the front, like when you're in the front of these races, man, when they talk about the clean air, it gives you the opportunity, like I said, just floor. You don't have to worry about just people in front of you slowing you down and restricting what you're able to do. So your car can perform to the best of its ability. When you got to start at 20, though, like my man Harvick, bro, like watching him have to work up, you could just see the strategy in terms of like, all right, so he's more aggressive early in the race now because he's trying to make up ground to get in striking distance. But the thing is, the more aggressive you are, the more gas you burn. The more gas you burn means you got to pit sooner.
Yeah.
Are going to wear sooner. So all of that kind of goes into it. So you could just see the mentality was so different because he was starting so far back. But it was still, man, just cool to just watch him be able to maneuver throughout the race. And then still, I mean, I don't think he won a stage, but he was still finishing top 10, top 5 in each of the stages. So that was the part where you're like, man, you're still scoring points. It still counts for you. So it was good, man.
What do you mean by stages?
So typically,
he won the first race, and like you said, got second in the second one.
So during each race, they'll break it down into 3 stages. But
like
now,
little bonus points you can get.
So instead of them just going out and driving 150 laps all at one time, they'll do 3. So they'll say, okay, you're going to drive 50 laps right here. That's stage 1. Another 50 is stage 2. And then the final 50 is stage 3. So even though you might have won stage 1 and stage 2, you still have to win the actual race. It's kind of like 4 quarters of football, right? Your team is winning the second quarter and the third quarter.
Yeah.
But then you lose in the fourth, it doesn't matter because the end of the game, like they scored more points than you total, so you lost.
So there's no perks for stage 1 or stage 2?
It is because you still get points. Yeah.
You get like little points that added on to the final score. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like it helps. But ultimately winning a race is going to get you so many more points. So having a top 10 finish is going to get you way more points. But they still have stats where they talk about guys who won a certain amount of stages or how many laps they've led as well. So, yeah, man.
I guess that helps just because for stage 1 and stage 2, if you're in the mix or you're winning and then you crash in stage 3, at least you can get a little something for that. It's different than football in that sense, where some people might just not be able to finish.
So, for example, on Sunday, remember I tell you they did the inverse start or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So this cat right here, Michael McDowell, he didn't win. He didn't lead 1 lap, but he still got 1 point, though. You know what I mean? Just because, like, in certain parts of the race, like where he was finishing in the different stages he was getting, so he was still scored 1 point. But you look at Harvick. Harvick scored 47 points, and he led 11 laps that time. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Is so with I guess that matchup between Harvick and Hamlin, is that something there? Is that like a rivalry that like what's going on?
Man, so
is that going to be like the duel to look out for here?
Man, so from my understanding, dude, obviously Hamlin is having a crazy season this year. Like this could be, and excuse me, when I said 47 points for the whole season, I need to break that. But they were still scoring points for that race. But when you're talking about Hamlin and Harvick, both of them dudes have been going crazy all year. This is probably Hamlin's best chance at winning a championship this year, just because of how well he's done. And like I said, he has 4 wins to his season right now, which is, you know what I mean? Like I said, that's leading the way in terms of races won. So it's definitely going to be competitive going down the stretch. And this is cool, man, because like you have the different storylines. Obviously, we talked about it, Jimmy Johnson, who this is his last go around, his farewell tour, and he's still doing good. But for Harvick, he's still trying to prove that even though he's an older driver, man, he still can hang with these cats and stuff like that. So I definitely think it's something that we're going to see going forward a lot more, man, in terms of them two really battling it out, man.
When's the season over?
Man, so let me pull it up real quick. Because they got the All-Star race coming up in July. Then
All-Star race.
Yeah, dude.
Come on. How does that work? They get like the top 10 drivers or something? Is it trick shots or trick drives? I don't know. Like, how does that?
So I'm going to research it more, but they have, from my understanding, they pull, I think, either the top 10 or top 20 drivers, and they'll get them, obviously, just like with NBA All-Star Weekend, like they have the custom card paints and all that other stuff. But I think like what else in terms of the All-Star Week, but that's definitely something like that's a big deal, man. So bro.
They're doing ramps and like jumping through like rings of fire and shit.
So our All-Star Weekend is July 15th, and it's actually a weekday this year, and they'll have it down in Bristol. Bristol is another big like historic racetrack. But let's see, the races for the regular season, it looks like it's going all the way to November.
Okay, we still got a bit then.
Oh yeah. But I say we still got time. But I say I'm gonna pull it, just make sure I'm not giving no bad info real quick. All right, so let's see. Full 2020. Okay. So the playoffs start in September. Yeah, so the playoffs start in September, and then the championship races in November, and that'll be out in Phoenix. Shout out to the AZ folk, man.
So you were right. That was your initial reaction. So you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. November though, yeah, you still got a ways away. So that'll be exciting then. At least you got like the two main guys that are going back and forth right now. And it seems like Hamlin, like you said, this would be his first championship if he won it.
Yes.
Like this is something like a major in golf. Like you got to get this. It's one of those things you really want on your resume whenever you're 60 or 70 years old. Say that you did it. But Harvick already has one, so he's playing with house money a little bit here. So
what I'm looking at right now, so the point standings for the whole season, Harvick is at number 1, Hamlin number 5, but literally from 5 to the 3rd spot, it's a difference of 8 points.
Hamlin's been hit or miss then.
So look at Hamlin's 4 points out of 4.
Yeah.
8 points out of 3rd. The guy sitting at 2nd is at 529. Hamlin's at 506. So it's not far off at all. That's literally, he can get that within a race or two. You know what I mean? Just depending on how these guys finish in front. And now Harvick's at 581 in terms of having the lead. So he has a pretty decent lead right now, but he still has to make sure he's finishing top 10, top 3, because even if he finishes at 10, but Hamlin is finishing 3rd for like consecutive races, like that could be enough to catch him. So that's why it's important that even if you're not winning, you still got to be finishing up in the top, man.
It seems like Harvick's feeling it though.
Oh yeah, he's hot. He's hot right now, bro.
Yeah, this just might be his year.
Yeah, it's the power of the hat too, man. Ever since I caught my hat, bro, he's money. I'm just throwing it out there, bro.
That is a clean hat.
Appreciate him. I went with the old school nostalgia look, big logos on me. You know what I mean?
That's a real clean hat. NASCAR might be underrated in terms of their gear too, honestly.
Bro, I saw a meme. They call it like the pit vest or whatever. Man, so it's not as heavy as the jacket.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
a windbreaker.
Yeah, but it's like a cool little get up, man. I was looking, I'm like, bro, that might be next.
Just start with the hat and get some more gear. That's all.
Oh, yeah, because it looked good, man. So I was definitely I got real big NASCAR fever. So this weekend before, so they had 3 races happen on Sunday, which was even crazier because they had the truck series go, which are like, think of like college ball, right? So you got like the NCAA, you got Division I, Division I AA, and then you guys got the NFL guys. So this weekend they had the truck guys race in the morning. Then they had the Xfinity series, which are like the Division I like college guys, the next in line to go to the Cup Series, and then you had the Cup Series right after. So in the midst of watching the first 2 sets of races, the truck series and then watching the Xfinity series, they pulled up a documentary, bro.
This was today, you said?
On Sunday.
Oh, Sunday, okay.
And they pulled up a documentary where they were talking about the rivalry between Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. Bro, that thing had me with all the racing vibes, man. It was crazy hearing the story in terms of, Dale being that, the intimidator, black dog car, kicking butt, winning. And then you get Jeff, this young California kid coming in, super young and kicking butt, not scared of nothing, man. It was just funny, man, like hearing some of the stories that they would share in terms of like that rivalry. And obviously it's Jeff doing all the narrating and stuff like that because, Dale Earnhardt passed away, so God bless the dead and stuff like that. But it was just cool just hearing his perspective on the rivalry. And just hearing how he's like, man, it was times where I didn't know about this. And guys were nervous. But for me, I was like, because I don't know, like, I feel like I'm supposed to win. and just seeing how they would go at it. And then it's like a couple of times where Dale actually like intentionally wrecked Jeff on the track, and how he was pissed in certain comments. Man, it was pretty cool though, bro.
When he said he didn't know, what does that mean?
For example,
he didn't know about the pressure that was put on him?
Yeah, so for example, like Jeff from a young age was racing and kicking butt. And when he finally got to the Cup Series, he was in his like 20s. Most of the drivers weren't to the Cup Series until they were like mid-30s. So he was like the baby of the bunch out there. So when he says he didn't know, like a lot of the drivers, like when Dale was out there, it was kind of like if you're guarding Jordan or you're guarding LeBron, like guys get starstruck like, oh man, he's supposed to dunk on me. I'm not supposed to contest this shot right here. Whereas Jeff, he was just out there like, man, I'll always win. So he was like, the way he would drive, like he was driving like, yo, I don't care about anybody out here. I'm trying to win.
Yeah.
Where you saw drivers, like if Dale would come up on him, they would kind of get intimidated. Like, let me get on out of this way, man. Like, this a bad man right here. He really think of it like that. I was just like, man, I always win. So he was like, man, when I didn't win, I'm looking at myself like, this isn't right. This is crazy. And he would just keep going on. And you would just see them battling all season, bro. And that first year, Dale won the championship. But then the next year, Jeff won it. And it was just crazy, like just hearing that whole dynamic, how, I mean, Jeff would do interviews and Dale would walk in the middle of the interview, say something, and then walk out. Like, it was nuts.
So they were like cool secretly or no?
It was like I'm trying to think how you would put it, man. Kind of like a Magic and Bird. Like, beef, but a healthy rivalry. You know what I mean? Like, you hear each other like now, like, man, like that got pushed me. I needed him. Like, that's the way that Jeff talked about it was like in that vein, like, man, he made me race better. He made me into a better racer. But during the time while they were going through it, man, it was times where they were definitely like saying, like always going back and forth, saying stuff, subliminals, everything, bro. And like I said, man, Dale actually like wrecked him on the track one time, like legit, like, okay, you ain't get out the way? Damn.
It sounded like, I know you said the rivalry was like healthy and everything, like off the racetrack, or even at the time, like they were butting heads and stuff. But it sounded like Gordon coming in, like Kobe coming in against Jordan. Like Kobe would go at Jordan, like he wouldn't care. He would want to guard him and he would try to score on him and all that type of stuff. So that's what it sounded like to me. But yeah, it's interesting.
Like, oh, this is Jordan. You're not supposed to do that. You got to chill out. Yeah, like it was crazy, man.
Dude, that's good stuff.
I definitely enjoyed it, man. It relit that fire even more as if the fire wasn't lit before. But I had to let people know, too, man, when we talk about us new NASCAR fans, NASCAR fans, all right? You got me who came in as soon as COVID started, and there was only sport going on. Then you got, obviously, the newer NASCAR fans that came up after the Confederate flag and the Bubba Wallace stuff. I just want to let y'all know I'm a part of the you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm OG new NASCAR. I just got to put that my NASCAR fanhood.
Hey, you got to put that out there. I know what you're saying, man. You don't you want to act like you were ahead of the game. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? But man, I really enjoyed the races, man. And I'm looking forward to the next race coming up, man. Let me see. Next race will be the Brickyard 400. That is actually you know, we obviously have like the Indianapolis 500 and stuff. So it's Indy this weekend, July 5th, man. So, and I was mad because I wanted to go to this race. I was looking at going to this race. I was looking at going to Kentucky and then Michigan, but obviously with the new wave of the fights again, I'm like, it's crazy right now. So everything is kind of being put on hold in terms of me going to a race, but I'm living though, man. I'll be tuned in. I'll be tweeting. I'll be IGing it. You know me.
Hey, all good then, man. All good.
Yeah, bro.
We go on NASCAR. You ready to fast forward? I don't know which topic you want to talk about first. We got two hot topics here.
Man, we do. So you know what? We're actually 2.5, man. Because when you think about it, so we'll start off with the first part where obviously today more reports were coming out in terms of the NFL leaning heavily towards shortening the preseason. So obviously, we're shortening it even further because obviously they already shortened it in terms of canceling the Hall of Fame game against the Steelers and Cowboys. But they're leaning heavily towards cutting down the preseason by 2 games. So that was reports that were coming out today about that. They haven't officially done it just yet, But who knows? By the time we release this, man, it might already be done. So it's something that's very active now in terms of them just trying to give themselves more time, I guess, to figure out everything and figure out the best way to go about, the players coming back and being as safe as possible and getting these games played and stuff. So that's going to be pretty interesting, man. We already talked about how this offseason hasn't been the best for new players, especially because you're not getting the OTAs, you're not getting the mini camps, and training camp is obviously going to be it's going to look a lot different in terms of the amount of time that the players are out there and things like that. So, I mean, this is definitely going to continue to have an effect, but it's something that's so fluid. Like, we don't necessarily know when things are going to get back. Like I said, man, we thought things were getting a lot better. And then recently we saw a new spike, a new wave, which was still expected because they were going to have more testing available. But now, obviously, it's starting to make people panic a little bit more again. So it's something that we just got to deal with right now, man.
Yeah, the training camp's still like a month away even. So that's the thing. I guess they're going to at least test that out and see how the training camps go. But yeah, I mean, you have the 2 preseason games potentially being canceled. And it's stuff that we've talked about before. It makes sense with just how the current climate is and stuff. So, you know me as a fan, I mean, it's preseason, it's whatever. But like, I know as a player, you've talked about how those could be important just in terms of you getting ready for the regular season and getting the certain amount of reps. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that, like you were mentioning, we're going to have to see how it goes. It's a fluid situation, and it's probably going to happen. I don't see why it wouldn't happen, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you're right, man. Like I said, me, I'm over here like, bro, I'm not tripping on this.
Although I will say, it is nice to just see football on your screen, no matter what you're doing, just to have on in the background. Maybe you get to see some of the rookies. Maybe some of the young guys could catch your eye a little bit. But yeah, in general, it's not something you're like completely tuned into.
Well, I mean, because you got to think, for us here in Pittsburgh, we got excited last year during the preseason.
I just wanted to see Ben.
Well, you wanted to see Ben. For me, I how James Washington and Devin Bush looked out there, and we saw where James Washington looked really good. We saw where Devin was looking good as well. So I think like that element is going to get taken away because we're not going to get a full chance to evaluate how big of a leap Devin has taken, how big of a leap Deontay has taken. We knew that we would see Ben in the preseason, but we figured it was going to be very, I guess it was going to be
very limited
size for him. Whereas now when you're looking at 2 preseason games, now you're questioning like, what does that even look like in terms of him being out there from a preparation standpoint? Because you have to assume that the coaches are still going to want to get these guys to have some game-like reps because you're hopping right into the season, the regular season after 2 preseason games, and they haven't had the OTAs and the mini camps to build up this long catalog of reps and time together. So I think, man, it's going to be real unique to just see what the rep count looks like for guys like Ben, for the guys like a Deontay Johnson, a Juju, a James Conner. You remember last year in the preseason, James Conner, he didn't play a lot either.
Was it just that Titans game with Ben?
Yeah, and we talked about with Ben, he had 15 snaps, and that was only in the Titans game. So just thinking about all those things and how that played out, you have to assume that, man, those guys are probably going to get more reps just because you don't want them going into the regular season with a handful of preseason snaps, no OTAs, no mini camps, and just expecting them to be ready to go up until the standard that we expect from them. So I think that part's going to be unique just to see how the coaches manage that.
Oh, honestly, that kind of hurts to hear a little bit because you know how it is with some of the star players in playing preseason games. We just want it to be you get in and you get out. But if you're telling me it's kind of needed though for the regular season, that could change the game a little bit. It's like this catch-22 almost.
Yeah, because the thing is, how do you expect a guy to be ready to play if he hasn't been given the opportunities to prepare? I mean, think about this. Usually the reason why you're not worried about those guys getting preseason snaps is because they take the lion's share of the OTA reps. They take the lion's share of the mini camp reps. They take the lion's share of the training camp reps.
But if all that is limited already too, yeah.
Oh, limited. OTAs is done.
Yeah.
Mini camps are over. They didn't get any of that. So now you're looking at a 3-week window of training camp, 2 preseason games. Now it's, go out there in the regular season and ball. Like, that's not a lot of time, man. I think Coach Tomlin talked about them guys. He have probably missed about 900 snaps. You know what I mean? So when you factor in all of that, I'm like, man, that's not a lot of time to get your body acclimated and get you mentally acclimated to the rigors of football, of actually playing, and not the off-season throwing sessions, not the running on cones and working out, because working out and playing football are drastically different.
Well, you could see what Brady's doing. I mean, he's down in Tampa Bay and he's working with his guys. Like you know Brady, like he knows what it takes to win. If he's doing this stuff right now, then it just goes to show that probably in terms of a team sense, the things that need to be done aren't getting done right now. So there's certain players that are getting in groups and doing what they got to do outside of that.
Now, how do you feel about the scrutiny that Brady has gotten?
They need to shut up. Brady's trying to win, man. Come on.
Hey, look, because the NFL, DeMar Smith, he's like, man, y'all need to stop doing the offseason workouts together, this and that. It's not healthy, man.
Come on, man. Brady wants to win. He's a winner. He wants to win.
But the thing
so do his teammates, dude. That's why they're all together.
The thing that got me was this, though. Everybody is getting on Brady. Russell Wilson posted a workout doing the exact same thing, and nobody talked about it. I'm like, it is nuts.
What is it now? Is it Brady being in Florida now? Is that what it is? Like,
no, bro. I'm like, Russell Wilson posted the same thing with his teammates, having one of them mini camp workouts by himself with the guys, and everybody was fine with that.
Yeah, why is it Brady then? That's a good question. Dude, I don't have a problem with it all. And like I said to the critics, just be quiet. Just be quiet and go home. I don't want to hear it.
No, speaking of Brady, obviously him leaving New England.
Good transition.
Know this, man. But they had two big things happen for them. Was it yesterday? I guess. Well, by the time whenever you guys check this out, it was the week of June 29th, 28th when this thing happened. So first, the big news was Cam Newton signing with the Patriots. Obviously, it's incentive based where he can make up to $7.5 million, I want to say. But obviously, that was absolutely bonkers, man. When you look at the deal he signed for me, I loved it. I think it's a super low risk, high reward signing for the Patriots. Only a positive for the Patriots in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And I think for Cam, it's only positive as well. When I break down both sides of it, when I think of the Patriots, if Cam comes in and he is healthy, you have an MVP caliber player, a player who's won an MVP, a player who's led a team to a Super Bowl, a guy who's dominated with sometimes not a lot of talent around him. He's a guy who could make something out of nothing with his arm and with his legs. So for the Patriots, that's a huge pickup if he's healthy. Now for Cam has a win-win situation because, number one, if he goes in there and he balls out, oh, man, it just adds to his legacy. It adds to the validation associated with him. For him, you think about the fact that, number one, he's going to be able to prove that not only can I do it with Ron Rivera, but I also can do it with Bill Belichick. Not only can I win in Carolina, I can win in New England, and I'm doing it right after Brady, who, remember, Brady lost in the wild card round last year. So if he goes up there and wins one playoff game, he's able to say with the same roster pretty much, I went further than Brady did.
Actually, it would probably be a worse roster because all the guys they lost on defense.
Absolutely. So, man, that would be huge for Cam. And the flip side is this. If Cam goes up there and plays bad, hold on, give me a second real quick.
No, you're good. You're good.
I forgot I have my ringer on, man. I'm getting all these texts.
Oh, dude, you're popular, man. That's why.
Jeez. All right, that's why you edit, man, because you can edit this one out. We'd be good.
You're good, man. You're good, dude. No worries.
So now, when we're talking about the positive, though, for Cam Newton, like I said, with Cam Newton, if all those things go right, it's a major win. But now the flip side is this. Say he goes up there and stinks up the bed, plays terrible. He already has the built-in excuse. Number one, I'm coming off an injury. Number two, COVID-19. I couldn't get no off-season work with the guys. It took time to gel. It took time to get up to speed. So for him, he can't lose in this situation either. And then for Belichick, like I said, man, if Belichick can get Newton, if Newton is healthy and he's able to ball out, Belichick looks like just the genius. Like, hey, I did it with Brady. I won with Matt Castle. I've won with Jimmy Garoppolo. I've run with Jacoby Brissett. It doesn't matter. You just plug them and play them, and we're going to be successful. So for them, man, you can't go wrong. And worst case, if Cam stinks it up, well, you get a high draft pick anyways. You might even tank for Trevor. So either way, they win it, man.
No, dude, it was a smart move on both sides, like you said. Cam, He's looking for a team. He's looking to reinvent himself a little bit. What better place than Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots? They got that system in place. And I think one of the things I was looking up too, there's probably like a knock on Cam where, he's an inaccurate passer. He wouldn't really fit in with New England system. If you look at his year, I think it was 2018, the year before he got hurt, this past one, he threw for like 66 or 67%. I don't know. I feel like he could be able to do that. I mean, that's when they got McCaffrey, so I'm sure a lot of those were like little dump offs. But what do you think New England's system is? I mean, dump offs to running backs and just like those timing routes to Edelman and just short routes cross over the middle. So I think he could hit those guys, and then you add in the element of the legs. I'm sure Belichick's going to be able to scheme it for Cam Newton. He's not going to be an idiot and try to run a system that was more for Brady. He plays for his guys and he schemes against the opponent. So he's always going to find the outliers there. And Cam Newton, like you said, he was an MVP. I mean, he's ultra talented. I've talked about this before, I think. Top 10 potentially right now. Like I would say top 10 maybe right now, at least top 12 in the league when healthy. So this is like a steal for the Patriots. Dude, I was thinking about this too. You remember we were having this conversation about the quarterback contracts whenever they were first coming off the market. It was Tannehill, it was Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Dude, those look bad now. Those look bad contracts to me.
Yeah.
Tannehill, I don't know. I forget what Tannehill got. He definitely got over 20 million, though. It's like 25, 27.
Tannehill and Bridgewater got the most, but even Nick Foles' contract is more than this right here.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is this. When you talk Bridgewater, obviously he was going to get the most just because of the success that he had, the small sample size, and the history associated with him. For Tannehill, because he stayed in-house with the Titans, was why he got more. Because they knew him, he fit their scheme exactly in terms of what they were trying to accomplish. Now, with Foles, that was the old Philly connection in terms of the coaching staff in Chicago OC, so that played into that. The big knock with Cam was, number one, the health. They weren't able to properly evaluate him because of COVID-19, and that kind of played into it. And at the same time, he wasn't willing to take a deal that would have paid him more, but still was going to be backup money. Let's be real. The contract that Nick Foles got, even though it's more than this, it's still a backup. It's a backup / you're an open competition quarterback contract. It's not you're the clear-cut starter contract. When you look at Tannehill, when you look at Teddy Two Gloves, those two guys, man, their contracts say you're the starter.
Dude, I just looked up Tannehill, 4-year, 118, almost $30 million a year. Dude, that's terrible, man. I said it then. It even looks worse now with Jameis signing and now Cam. Yeah. Man, come on, dude.
He could produce, man. He could ball. He let it taste.
Come on, dude.
Fun fact, I know how big you are on fourth quarters, right? I know you are on clutch. You know Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, right? Future Hall of Famer and all these good stuff. Ryan Tannehill has more fourth quarter.
Come on, dude.
So, being said, just know Tannehill is all right.
Nah, dude. You got to look at everything. I mean, you could spit that out to me because Tebow had some of that fourth quarter stuff too, but eye test is telling you he can't throw the ball. His stats were terrible too. It was like a good one-hit wonder for Tebow. No one's paying him this type of money. So you can have something good on your resume, but that doesn't tell the whole story. So I don't really know what that means.
Listen, according to you it does. We're stat guys, right? Only numbers, only the ones.
No, man.
When you look at fourth quarter comeback, just know that for his career, he has more than your boy Aaron Rodgers. All right, and you know he had completion. He had a completion rating of 70% last year. Did you know that?
He had a lucky season, dude. Who are you taking right now, Cam or Tannehill? Though, come on.
Well, I'm a Cam guy.
Yeah, but so it's Cam at $1 million, potentially up to $7 million, versus Tannehill $30 million. For 4 years. You got him locked in for 4 years. Now you have flexibility with Cam too.
I think it's not apples to apples though. Because Cam, think about in 2019, Cam played 2 games. In 2018, Cam played 14 games, but remember the end of the season got cut short because of the injuries. And we felt that even though he played 14 games, probably 5 to 6 of them he looked hurt. So all of that plays into the contract because they weren't able to evaluate. If this is a normal offseason, and teams could have flew Cam in, first off, Cam would have been signed by now. And then from a health standpoint, it wouldn't be any type of concerns around him because you would know. The only reason we knew Cam was healthy is because Cam was putting out there that he passed the physical. Cam was putting out the videos of him working out. But there's still going to be people that say, well, he's not healthy, man. He's bad. You know, he's old goods right now. He's hurt and this and that. Like, for me, I think that's the only reason why his contract is what it is. But for Cam, knowing that, hey, if this is the situation this offseason, where, okay, all the starting quarterback jobs have pretty much been locked up, and it's only one or two that were available right now, and they're going to have some questions about my health, okay, let me just take this deal. It's the best situation for me, and I got a best chance of winning in a division that's still going to be open. Now, I still think the Bills are going to be very competitive.
I did want to ask you that, if you have a quick hot take on the AFC East. But you could finish what you were saying, though.
So my thing is, I'm like, man, when you factor in all of those different variables, this makes the most sense for Cam. So even though he could have probably held out and waited a little bit longer to get more money, that didn't benefit him in this situation, because regardless if you waited and signed yesterday or you signed a month from now, if you're not able to travel because of COVID-19, you're not able to check on the health of Cam Newton, it was still going to be those concerns and question marks around him.
Well, I was saying this last podcast or two, I'm surprised it didn't even happen earlier, because I know Cam was interested in the Patriots a little bit, and the Patriots have stood him. So I always thought that should have been a match. I didn't really understand why it wasn't. And Belichick and the Patriots, they're just like sitting behind the scenes, and they make it happen. That's why the Patriots are that organization. That's why they're the Patriots, and that's why the Titans are the Titans, dude. It's simple as that. They're overpaying for Tannehill. They're jumping the gun. That's what it is, man.
So for the Titans, Tannehill is an upgrade from the situation they're coming out of. They had Mariota. What did he produce?
Yeah, but even looking back on some of the other quarterbacks, so you could have gotten at a cheaper price, like Foles, like you mentioned, or even.
He said outside of the year when he hopped on at the end of the season and took Philly to the Super Bowl and won it. When has he proven over a 16-game body of work that he can produce? If you point to the Pro Bowl season with Chip Kelly, that is strictly gimmick. That is strictly scheme, because his full body of work says otherwise. Over a 16-game season, he has never been able to lead a team and lead a team to the playoffs and be the guy. So that's why, if you're the Titans, why take a chance on spending?
I'm not big on Foles though either. I guess I would take Tannehill over Foles, but I'm just saying at the price range. And then Jameis is the other perfect example. You could say those three quarterbacks, especially Jameis and Cam, getting $1 million. That's crazy.
You're the Titans. What fits your scheme? You have a quarterback in house who changed the way your offense looked like.
I'm just telling them they made a mistake.
Jameis, who had 30 touchdowns but 30 picks, that's a lot more turnovers. Turnovers will kill your team. So we looking at a team where Tannehill, it fits perfect. And the fact that when you talk about from a market standpoint, a timing standpoint, if he does this 2 years ago and he has another year left on the contract, money-wise is going to be different. But he does it in a year where he's going to hit the market. So now you got the Titans by the short and curlies, essentially. You're telling them, hey, look, man, you saw what I did. You saw what you have with Marcus Mariota. Both of us are free agents now. So you either could pay me, stay with what you know right here and continue to be successful, or you could take a chance on one of these names in hopes it works out. But if it doesn't, now you're stuck for the next couple of years on some turnover guy, some guy that turns the ball over rapidly, or a guy who's just not good enough to produce at this level for 16 games. You got to roll the dice, man. Go with what you know.
We'll see how it plays out, dude. I just wanted to bring that up. I guess it's a hindsight thing from my standpoint, but I just wanted to bring it up and let the Titans know how much of a mistake they made there, even though they couldn't really tell at the time. But I'm just...
Well, this is my thing. Anytime is you in the GM role, I always get nervous.
We'll see, dude. We'll see.
You would have gave Jameis this massive deal.
No, dude, like $10 million. Like, dude, $10 million.
Turn the ball over. What's going on here?
I think anything in the teens would have been reasonable for Jameis if you were going to give him a year or two to start, like especially, and then versus Tannehill's contract. That's what I'm saying. Those two, maybe you could say they're equal. Maybe I would take Jameis. I don't know, but for the price, Jameis provides more value, in my opinion.
He's more risk, more reward, though. He can throw you out of a game. You don't have to worry about that with Tannehill. That's the
He's
difference,
not
man.
winning you crap though, dude.
He took them to the AFC Championship game last year, bro. What are we talking about here, man?
Dude, another thing with the Cam Belichick thing though, I know a lot of people think that he's like, he's injury ridden, which obviously he has had injuries, or he's too beat up, he's too old. But I mean, you got to think he's only 31. I mean,
Exactly.
and we talk about Tannehill, dude. He's had injuries too. I think he's 32. No one's thinking that of him. He just had that good year last year. I think that's all it's going to take for Cam. And Patriots being in this good situation for him. If he has a baller year, man, he could get paid in this offseason. I'm sure he's going to want to. I mean, Russell Wilson's 31 too. Like, this is like a prime for most quarterbacks. Ben, you think?
Hey, man. So Tannehill's 31, but he'll be 32 next month.
Yeah.
31, and he just turned 31 in May. So he's a year younger.
Yeah. And dude, I mean, think of the like, even Ben, like, I know his whole career, like, he was always getting banged up. People were worried about him lasting. Dude, like, he's 30, he's 38 right now. He's had some of his best years the past 4 or 5 years. And I mean, I just think it's doable. I don't think it's like he's washed up or anything. I think he could have like this second leg of his career.
I agree with that 1,000%. And I want to say this, man, in terms of the injury concerns around Cam, you realize, let's see, he's been in the league 1, 2, 3, 4. Was it? Oh, computer freezing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 3, 6. Yeah, so he's been in the league 9 years. He's played, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years where he has 16 games. 3 seasons where he's played 14 games. And then obviously last year was the only time where he only played 2 games. So in terms of durability, Cam plays in a ton of games. Now, when you look at Tannehill on the contrary, who has played 7 seasons? Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. He's played in 16 games 4 times. Then he played in 13 games in 16, 11 games in 18, 12 games in 19, and then obviously he missed the 17 season. Yeah, so when I'm looking at that, I'm like, bro, Cam is a lot more healthy and a lot more durable than him. And then even when you talk about Ben only has, 1, 2, 3. He has 4 seasons where he's played in 16 games. The rest, he has some 15, some 14, some 11, some 12s. Obviously, last year he played 2, but I feel like with Ben, nobody's looking at Ben in terms of, oh, man, he can't come back from injury or he's too injury riddled and things like that. Whereas with Cam, they want to come up with this new narrative that he's banged up and beat up and can't stay healthy. I'm like, that's not been the case with Cam.
I think it's the running element because that's like a big part of his game. But I don't know. I think Belichick and the Patriots are going to set him up for success where he's not. It's either he's going to be smarter about the hits he takes probably, or Belichick's going to set him up in a much better position where he's not taking those type of hits.
Yeah, because
that's what I'm thinking too. And then looking back, like I said, the 66 or 67% completion percentage he was throwing, I think he could do that if he were to maybe only have 200-300 rushing yards in a year and then sit back and like dink and dunk like Brett. I think he could do that. I definitely think he could.
Well, and this is the thing for Cam Newton, he's been consistently a 3,300-yard passer. His best year, he threw for 4,000 yards his rookie year. Excuse me. Other than that, he's a 3,300-yard passer on average. Then when you look at from a rushing standpoint,
it's like 500, 600, 700.
Hundreds. In 2018, he was at 488, so that was still going to be around 5. But that's traditionally where he's been. The biggest knock that I have on Cam is just the turnover element of it. He's another guy that has consistent double-digit interception seasons. He's only had 1 season where he had single-digit interceptions. That was last year when he only played 2 games. The lowest was 10. The lowest he's had in the season was 10 picks. So I think that's the biggest difference when you're talking about my concerns with Cam. It's not about his health. It's about the interceptions. I look at him similar to Ben, but Ben is more polished as a passer, and Ben still is throwing at a higher clip in terms of volume, in terms of attempts. Cam doesn't have nowhere. I mean, Cam's most attempts in the season was 517.
Yeah.
He's in the high 400s. When I look at Ben, we know Ben. Ben is a volume passer, especially lately in his career where he's 675 his last healthy season, 561, 509, 469, 608, 584. So it's a lot higher volume. So even though Ben has some double digit some double digit interception seasons, he's still throwing so much more. So it's not as big of a concern. Whereas with Cam, I'm like, bro, you're not throwing enough to be having this many interceptions in a season. But I do think with Josh McDaniels, he can get that cleaned up a lot, because this is definitely going to be the best coaching staff.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, not even close. I mean, Ron Rivera's a good coach, but he's not Belichick.
No.
And when you how the Patriots run their organization from a stability standpoint, from just always being able to out-coach and out-scheme people, I think that they're going to be able to formulate something perfect just for Cam.
No, another thing, too, is that Cam, look throughout his career, he hasn't had any help at receiver for the most part at all. But he's been able to get MVPs and get them in the playoffs in a pretty consistent basis. And the Patriots don't really have that right now, but that's why I think it's a good fit for both sides, because I think New England needs a guy that can kind of shoulder the load like Cam has with the Panthers. So, yeah, it definitely makes sense, and I think he'll be able to do it, just considering you have Belichick and that coaching staff, even though they do probably are a little bit lower on the talent pool right now, but they'll be able to make it work somehow.
Yeah, now in terms of the AFC East, I do think it makes it a lot more competitive. Obviously, the Patriots won 12 games last year, and the Bills, for the first time in, a decade or two, they had 10 wins. It was a big deal for them. Now, I think it's going to still be very competitive. I think it's still going to be a two-horse race. I think Miami has done some things to close the gap, but it's really going to depend on their quarterback play with Fitzpatrick, and obviously with Tua Tagovailoa, how he develops. But this Cam signing, if Cam is healthy, that's a huge pickup, because he is an MVP. He is a All-Pro, Pro Bowl, Rookie of the Year. Player of the Year. He has the accolades. He has some awards that some very prestigious quarterbacks don't even have.
Come on, dude. Come on, man.
Like a statement. That's a true statement. It's a true statement.
I know Russell Wilson doesn't have one, dude. It's unfortunate.
Doesn't even have one.
I don't think Breeze has one either.
Has what?
MVP.
No, he has a Player of the Year in the Super Bowl.
I don't think he does have one.
Yeah. Let me see.
that. That just goes to show you, man. It's a nice award, but
don't discredit
it's a really nice award. I'm not knocking it, but if Breeze doesn't have one, Russell Wilson doesn't have one. There's another guy that doesn't have one.
Breeze has 2 Offensive Player of the Years, has 1 Super Bowl MVP, he has 1 All-Pro.
He doesn't have MVP.
If it is, though, man.
What?
That lets you know how competitive it is. Drew's best year. Think about this. The problem with Drew was this: his best year, the year he should have won it, was when Mahomes threw for 50 touchdowns, bro.
I don't know what to say, dude.
Bro, Ben doesn't even have a vote.
What?
Your boy Ben has never received a vote, nor has Russell Wilson.
There's just something wrong with it then. That's all. That's all, dude. Come on. What? I didn't hear you. I lost you there. What'd you say?
I said, what about Super Bowl MVPs? Is there something wrong with that?
Come on, man. So I saw a Steeler account posting something like that recently. Like, come on. I was gonna comment on that, but you know what? Santonio Holmes was on the podcast. I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm ripping on him at all. It's just more that I have that loyalty to Ben.
Well, look, you be loyal to who comes on the show. When Ben comes on the show, then we let's go.
Dude, wait, real quick then. You talking about the AFC East? It's going to be a little tougher with Cam being there. What's the initial take? Who wins right now? This is just hot take right now. This isn't final. Obviously, we'll get to that more closer to the season. What are you saying?
I still have the Bills winning it because they have the better roster.
All right.
And this is the thing.
You know what I'm thinking.
What you thinking?
Well, I got to go Patriots, man. I got to go Patriots win the AFC East. I just got to go Cam and Belichick. It's as simple as that. That's all I'm going off of.
That's fair enough. I look at it like this, man. From a roster standpoint, the Bills roster, top to bottom, is a lot better than the Patriots roster. You go down position by position. Cam Newton is the only thing right now.
There's no doubt. It's one of those like.
Yeah.
I was having this whole debate with my friends the one weekend. It was the 2017 Warriors versus one of those Bulls Jordan teams.
Yeah.
And the argument, I would say the only argument you could have for the Bulls beating those Warriors is just Jordan. It's like that X factor. Because that Warriors team, like, it's just stacked. I mean, you have all those top players: Durant, Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Iguodala's your fifth guy. Like, that's absurd. The X factor is Jordan. So I guess that's, like, in my case, if you're gonna say Patriots, you say Belichick and Cam. Somehow they're gonna find a way. But yeah, on paper, I got to give it to you. Bills across the board have a better roster.
And it's not even close, man. It's not even close. And it's funny, too, speaking of the roster thing that we did, you remember we posted it on multiple platforms. So this is the thing that gets me. When you see the different, like, groups of followers and how they pick. So when you look on IG, it's predominantly Steelers fans that follow on IG. So you see the comment section dominated by Steelers. You look on YouTube, it's a little more diverse.
Oh, I saw that.
It's different than on IG. And then obviously on Facebook, where it's pretty much only Bills fans up there for me, it was just straight Bills, not even close. So I just always laughed when I saw that. But still, man, when I look at the rosters, dude, the Bills have the better roster. Now, I don't think that the Bills are going to end up with a better record or a better season than the Steelers, because obviously I think with Ben coming back, that changes a lot. But the Bills have the better roster. I just think the X factor is at that quarterback play. You're talking about Big Ben versus Josh Allen. But when you look at the stats, man, when you look at player for player, dude, the Bills got it.
But if we're going, I'm going Steelers over Bills still. But for Patriots, Bills, I'll give you that for Bills Patriots for sure. So you're saying Bills still got the East over the Patriots?
Not still. I mean, because you got to think the Patriots have been having it, but I say the Bills are going to win it this year, though.
Yeah, well, I guess the whole narrative coming into the offseason was like, all right, the Bills are clearly the favorites because now the Patriots have Stidham. It's going to be a down year for them. They could potentially be tanking, which is something I didn't really believe. I always thought Belichick was going to really try to win, and I don't want to say stick it to Brady. I think it's more or less for him to show everyone that, hey, I can do it with anyone. Not more or less like, hey, I can do it without Brady. It's just I can do it in general, no matter who I got here. I got a perfect system in place. But people were down on him in general. So one of the things with the Bills, obviously I was talking about the Patriots being down a little bit, but I think, you know how I like to reach for things maybe a little bit outside of the lines, outside of the field. I think the pressure might get to the Bills this year. I think there's going to be a lot of hype here, and I think like the Browns last year, just we've always seen it in the NFL, a team supposed to be the next one that takes the torch, but maybe doesn't live up to expectations. That's kind of how I'm feeling with the Bills this year. Because you got Belichick, you got the experience in Belichick, and then I definitely like them bringing in Cam. So that's kind of one of my arguments too for Patriots over Bills in the East.
Now, the reason why I say the whole pressure narrative is not even close, they've already been to the playoffs 2 of the past 3 years. When you talk about the Browns had a winning season, that's a different level of pressure. You're talking about going from never having a winning season to being playoff contenders, favorites in the division, Super Bowl contenders. They never had a winning season. When you look at the Bills, the past 3 years, they've been in the playoffs twice. They just won 10 games last year. They have a young quarterback who's taking a major step in the right direction. With Baker, that wasn't the case. When you looked at how the roster for the Browns was constructed, it was a lot of let's go free agent splash, right? And it didn't gel, it didn't mesh. When you look at the Bills, a lot of this is homegrown. A lot of these players are drafted there. It's drastically different. So that's why I don't buy into the whole pressure narrative, because they're not being asked to do something they haven't done yet. They've already won 10 games. They won 10 games last year with a lot less on offense. Think about this.
Yeah, they can make the playoffs, especially with the 7 seeds now being in. But in terms of like winning the AFC East and feeling like you're the dominant team,
not just making the playoffs, they will win the AFC East, bro. When you look at the receiving room, first off, they got 2 proven 1,000-yard receivers, and this is another reason why we talked about Steelers versus Bills. When we talk Steelers, we're hoping and projecting for next year. We're hoping that Juju can prove that he can be a number 1 receiver outside of AB. We're hoping that Deontay Johnson can take a next step. We're hoping that Chase Claypool can step up. We're hoping that James Washington can step up. Stephon Diggs is a 1,000-yard receiver, proven multiple times, proven to be a number 1 receiver. He was Batman. Thielen was Robin. Wasn't a debate. We talked about John Brown. John Brown, 1,000-yard receiver, proven. He was the number 1 receiver last year. There's not a hoping or a wishing. We've seen it. It's different. Cole Beasley, as your third best receiver, has proven to be a steadily constant producer. He's proven that. There is no debate. When you talk about defense, we're hoping Devin Bush can take a step and be a Pro Bowl linebacker, right? We hope that. Tremaine Edmonds is a Pro Bowl linebacker. There is no guessing work with that. We're hoping that when we talk corners, we said Tre'Davious White was in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. So who's our best corner? Are we going Joe Hayden or are we going Steven Nelson? Either way,
they're both top 10.
Okay, they're both top 10, but either way, Tre'Davious has proven to be a better quarterback than both of them. And you know how I feel about Joe. That's my guy. But Tre'Davious is on that level. We talked about Josh Norman. Josh Norman is a proven All-Pro. So if Josh Norman's your second guy, are we going Joe Hayden versus Tre'Davious and then Josh Norman versus Steven Nelson? Because however you want to debate that, I'm going with the Bills corners in that regard. We got Minka Fitzpatrick, absolutely, a megastar. But you talk about Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, they are two proven, consistent starting safeties in the NFL. It's not a debate. The jury's still out on Edmonds. We know Edmonds is a productive player without a doubt, but he hasn't taken that next step just yet. And then we talk about the front guys. We know for a fact, hey, TJ Watt, megastar. We know Bud has the potential to tap into that range. We know Stephon Tuitt has the potential to tap into that range, but they haven't done it consistently just yet. We know Cam Hayward, hey, star, without a doubt. But then the flip side of that is Mario Addison. His numbers collectively through his career versus Bud's career is not close. He has way more sacks. Jerry Hughes has had multiple double-digit sack seasons. So when we breaking it down roster for roster, spot for spot, that's what I'm telling you, man. It's not it's not far-fetched. It's not pressure. It's not their roster is this and that roster is that, or we're projecting or hoping. These are proven guys. These are proven commodities. And that's why for me, I'm like, dude, it's not a debate. The Bills have the better roster.
Well, you're talking about Steelers though now, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of the AFC East, go ahead.
I'm talking Bills versus Steelers roster, and I'm also talking Bills in terms of the pressure of winning the AFC East. Why it's not pressure?
Do you trust Josh Allen though?
He just led the wins last year.
They didn't win the East though. They still didn't win the East. They still didn't prove that they were the top dog in the AFC East.
We always said Brady was there. No Brady, they're the favorite.
Dude, but you replace him with Cam, man. They still got Belichick. That's my argument. That's kind of what I'm sticking to. You know what I mean? And then just the whole pressure of the Bills not being able to live up to it. So that's kind of my belief.
My whole argument to that is this. You can say Cam and Belichick, but when we point roster and we say who has the more talented team, it's not close. The Bills have the more talented roster than the Patriots. It's not close. And we're hoping that Cam Newton can return to form. But that's the question mark. There are no question marks when you're talking about the Bills roster right now. If your biggest concern is can they live up to an expectation.
Do you feel good about Josh Allen in a big game? That's my thing.
Well, he's had big games and he's balled out. When is he not?
Dude.
Went to a big game he didn't produce in.
What?
Remember the Cowboys game? That was supposed to be the big game on Thanksgiving. He balled out. Remember the Steelers?
Dude, he barely beat us, and we had Duck, and he threw for like 100 yards. I'm not saying it was a bad game. It was a good game.
All I'm saying is this. Remember, that was a big game for him. We're not talking about the Duck Hodges narrative. We were talking about Josh Allen versus top 2, top 3 defense. And we saw Josh still ball out versus that Steelers defense. We saw that. Then we saw him in the playoffs. He went to the wire, went to overtime with the Texans. So for me, you've seen him on every stage continue to produce. That's my thing. So for me, I don't look at it as, oh man, this is going to be too big for him. Do you believe in him? The proof's in the pudding. What is it? If you don't believe right now, you're just trying to lie to yourself.
No way, dude. I haven't seen him take that next step.
So from year 1 to year 2, he didn't take a step. You're crazy if you think that, man.
No. Just in terms of, hey, can I trust him? I don't know if I could trust him.
So leading the team to 10 wins, something that Baker Mayfield has never done. You can't trust that?
That's different though. That's the Browns.
What? How?
Dude, that's the Browns. It's Baker. I'm not. We're not talking about them, dude. We're not talking about them. I would take Josh. Josh Allen versus Baker. That's a whole nother debate right there. I'm not trying to get into that. I'm talking about Bills trying to win the AFC East versus Cam and Belichick.
You talk about the jump for Josh Allen. His first year, he played 11 games.
He definitely improved. Yes, there's no denying that. I don't know if he could take the next jump though. I really don't think it's up in the air, dude. eye test is
I'm,
telling me it might not happen.
I'm trying to figure out the narrative of him not taking a jump when he went from 10 touchdowns his rookie year to 20.
No, he did. That's what I mean. He took the jump from rookie to second year. I don't know if he could take that next level jump, man.
Bro, you seeing it. He had 12
That's not what my eyes are seeing.
next year. You're seeing it, bro. It's no debate. Like I said, if you don't see a jump that he's already taking, you're lying to yourself, man.
You're saying the year 2 to year 3 jump. What do you think? They win the AFC East, they win a playoff game? Is that what it's going to take?
Absolutely.
And then just little improvement in stats?
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, it's more about him winning the playoff game, winning the AFC East first, and winning the playoff game. When Brady's in the division, totally different conversation because we know what Brady is and we know what New England is. I don't care about Cam Newton being there. I think Cam Newton will lead the Patriots to the playoffs if he's healthy. I don't see them winning the AFC East, though. But my thing is this, for Josh Allen, what I'm grading him on is leading his team to win the AFC East. When you win 10 games in your division, traditionally, that gets you the division. Traditionally. So for me, I want to...
I don't know. We've had 10 wins and got the wild card. We've had the Ravens and the Bengals have some good runs.
The AFC North historically is drastically different than other conferences.
Yeah.
With 2 years where 3 teams went to the playoffs. Think about that, man. Our division does that. The AFC East hasn't historically been like that. A lot of other conferences aren't like that.
It might be tight this year, though. It might be tight just across the board.
So that's why for me, I'm saying, man, if he won 10 games last year, I expect him to be around 11, 12 wins. That's what I'm expecting from him. I'm expecting him to win the AFC East. I'm expecting him to win a playoff game. That's the next step for him.
You know what a better comparison is? Because I know I just dropped the Browns earlier whenever I was mentioning about not living up to the hype. But the Browns are different because, like you said, they didn't make the playoffs or anything. Yeah. Probably a better comparison, what I'm actually trying to think of, is the Bears from 2 years ago making the playoffs, and then they go, what was it, 7-9, 8-8 last year? That's what I'm thinking.
The reason why I still think that was different, though, was because nobody ever believed in Mitch Trubisky. That was never...
Dude, I think people were kind of on him for that second year until the playoff game. The playoff game he let down a lot. I think he was a big surprise in his second year. But his playoff game he let down, and I think that's when the narrative started where are we sure he can live up to the big moments?
Look, two things. And when we talk about Trubisky, number one, his rookie year, obviously he missed a lot of time. He was he played 12 games his rookie year, excuse me. But he
was nothing his rookie year. He wasn't good.
Remember, the second year was when they made the trade for who? Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Defense was the reason why they were dominant. That defense was the reason why they were winning. We talked about how they were winning in the old-fashioned way. Defense winning. It was more Tampa Bay with Trent Dilfer. It was more Tampa Bay with Brad Johnson and Baltimore Ravens with Trent Dilfer at quarterback. And that was the whole narrative. It
100%.
was never,
yeah, I agree.
It was just he was competent. Don't turn the ball over and we'll be fine. Josh Allen last year was the reason why they were winning. The Bills' defense was phenomenal, but Josh was the difference because they've already had elite defenses in Buffalo before, but the quarterback play was terrible. That was the difference. Whereas now when you're looking at what Josh is able to do, Josh led that team. Anybody that will tell you that
I'll give you Josh Allen over Trubisky all day. I guess I'm just talking in a vacuum. I just think that's how it's going to play out for them. No matter if Josh Allen's better than Trubisky just overall in general, I could see the Bills season playing out like that. Just in terms of the hype and living up to all the expectations, like I said.
I still think that's not apples. That's apples to oranges because, like I said, when you talk about the Bears,
it's not. It's just a comparison I'm trying to make, just to maybe make it simpler.
Yeah, I don't think there's any team right now that's going to compare to that. Because even when I thought about the Rams, it's different because the Rams were all the way to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. You can say maybe Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, I guess that's the thing. We would probably have to look back years and years to get a better comparison. But you know how we do as humans. We just try to get something just to make it simple in our minds. But yeah, I think I'm just more painting the picture of team expectations. They played pretty decent the last year, but I just don't think they're gonna do it this year. Like they should be taking those next steps. I just don't feel like they will. That's all.
When we talk about comparisons of like the Bears to the Bills, I think it's different because the way the Bears were winning, that wasn't sustainable. the way the Bills have been winning is very sustainable in terms of it's more of a complete team victory, but your quarterback is playing well. When we looked at Chicago and their wins, it was defense doing just outlandish stuff. Stuff that, like, man, you can't sustain. It's kind of like what we said with the Steelers this year, where they were scoring on defense multiple times. They were just playing just outstanding, insane. It's like, bro, that's not sustainable. You can't have those guys on the field that much. You have to have something on offense that's competent. And I think that's why it's different, man, when we're talking about the Bills and why I'm projecting to be so successful this year is because they've proven over the past 3 years that they have a sustainable method. They've proven over the past 3 years that they understand the team element of it. They're not relying on 1 or 2 star players, kind of like what we do in Pittsburgh, where we rely heavy on Ben. And if Ben isn't there, like, a lot of things change. Or if AD was out, a lot of things changed. They're not relying on that in Buffalo. It's a very complete model, offensively and defensively. And I think that's the difference. And that's why, like I said, I'm high on the Bills, man.
I'm just going to go Belichick and Cam. But here's the thing. You might be right. I could be right. I don't know. I just want to see it. I haven't seen it from the Bills. And here's go ahead. Go ahead.
For Belichick and Cam, are you going Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson then to win the AFC North?
Huh? Oh, no.
Why not?
I'll take Ben and Tomlin. Come on.
Why? People say that Harbaugh is the better coach, and obviously an MVP.
No.
Oh, that was no.
Nah, dude. I mean, do we want to go career-wise? Tomlin's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1. I guess what you could give Harbaugh is switching up the system for Lamar Jackson, but then Tomlin also had a really impressive coaching performance last year without Ben going 8-8 with our defense and then having Duck and Mason in there. I think that's arguable. I mean, those two are pretty close, but I'm trying to think. Does Harbaugh has a losing season or two, I think, in there.
Yeah, but the difference is this. Who has been Tomlin's quarterback through his tenure? Big Ben, Hall of Famer. The best quarterback up until last year when he had Lamar Jackson was Joe Flacco. So people have it's been the narrative for numerous years now. Harbaugh has done way more with way less every year than what Tomlin has done with a heavily stacked offense, heavily stacked roster.
Okay. I mean, I've heard that before. I mean, it is what it is, man. It is what if we're talking QB coach duos, then I'm taking Ben and Tomlin though, because I'm taking Ben over Lamar, and I'd say that's arguable. I think I'm gonna stick with my bias there and take Tomlin over Harbaugh, but there's definitely an argument there because they beat us at one time in 2014 in the playoffs, and our record is pretty similar. And I mean, you could go to that quarterback debate, but I mean, his defense has always been better. I don't know how much you want to attribute that completely to coaching, or if you want to attribute that to the players that were there based off the GM and the drafts and free agency and all that stuff, though.
Yeah, but Harbaugh has led his team with Ryan Mallett to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's all I'm saying, bro.
Oh man, that's a foggy memory, dude. When that was late in the season. Was that after the back-to-back 6? We lost to the Jets and we lost to the Ravens at some point.
Yeah,
is that what it was? It was that year. Hey, come on, dude.
We didn't do what Mason up.
Huh?
And Tomlin didn't do it with Mason or Duck when the roles were reversed.
Dude, I mean, I'm thinking more and more. There could be an argument for Harbaugh over Tomlin. There definitely could be. His performances against the Patriots too. What?
I'm biased for Tomlin.
Yeah, like I just want to say Tomlin, but I mean, there is definitely an argument.
Yeah.
But all right, if we're gonna say that's a wash, then I'll take.
No, you can't say that's a wash though. Because you can't say that's a wash because we've said that from when we talk quarterbacks, right? So quarterback-driven league. Tomlin has always had Ben.
So wait, are you saying Harbaugh then? You're saying Harbaugh over Tomlin?
That's what people
people are saying.
Bias. So I take myself out the equation.
Come on, man. Come on. All right, let's just say quarterback and coach duo then. I'm taking Tomlin and Ben.
You said, what do you say now?
Like quarterback and coach duo. I'm taking Tomlin and Ben over Harbaugh and Lamar. Yeah. Just in general, yeah.
Harbaugh and Lamar for this season coming up.
I just believe in Ben, dude.
I believe in the reigning MVP.
Huh? Hey, what'd you say last podcast, right? The Titans, Lamar said the Titans snuck up on him. Harbaugh said, no, they didn't. So that he's admitting that he was outcoached there. So maybe he's losing a step. Maybe he's losing his fastball.
500 total offense yards in that game, and that was a bad game for Lamar.
Dude, I was looking that up because do we want to just get into this then? Because we're talking quarterbacks and stuff. We want to rank the AFC North quarterbacks here. All right, so what you want to just start off 1 through
1 through 4. I'll go first, and I'll throw mine out there.
You want to just go 1 and we'll just do 1 and 2 here because we'll go 1 and 2, and then we could talk 3 and 4.
So for me, I got Lamar at 1. I got Ben at 2.
Well, I got them flipped. I got Ben 1, Lamar at 2.
Because when I look at Ben's best season, which was last year, right, or the 2018 season, obviously we talked about
best year. You're saying best year there? No.
That wasn't Ben's. From a statistical standpoint, it was his best year.
No.
What?
No, I'd take probably one of those 3 before that. Be honest with you.
All I'm saying is this is the only 18 was the year he led the league in passing yards. He had
32 touchdowns. Yeah.
Most passing yards, and the most touchdowns he had in the season was 34. That was all that in 2018. There's 1 or 2 years where his QBR is a little better. That's kind of like that eye test thing that I factor in. I remember watching more dominance in 1 or 2 of those other years. So check it out. So his QBR in 2018 was 71. And
look at his 1 for 15 where he has like 21 touchdowns, 16 picks.
I was about to go. His QBR then was 71.1.
Yeah. Dude, I remember that year, man. I mean, yeah, you could say it's one of the top 4 or 5 seasons for sure.
So best QBR season was 2007. He had 75.1.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Other than that, in 2012 it was 71.3. In 2015 it was 71.1, and then in 2018 it was 71.0.
Yeah, 2012 he was in the mix for MVP, and then he got hurt. I remember that.
So it's safe to say that 18 was his best season.
I'll give you that. I'd put it in the top 4, like you mentioned. You mentioned all those other years. I'd put it in there. But yeah, all right. If you want to say that, that's cool. I won't argue with you too much on there.
Like I said, 5,100 passing yards, 34 touchdowns. Right, that was a crazy amount. 34 touchdowns. We talked about the 16 picks, led the league with that. But now when you talk about Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar, he passed 3,100 yards, so he was around $2,000 shorter. But he did it also with 275 less passing attempts, and he still threw for 2 more touchdowns. He had 36 passing touchdowns that season compared to Big Ben 34. And then that doesn't even account for the 1,200 rushing yards that he had either. So from a statistical standpoint, Lamar's season as a whole was better than Ben's best season. And he did it with way less interceptions. Ben had 6 picks. Lamar had what? Let me see what this is. 6 picks. Ben is 6 picks to 16. That's 10 more interceptions. And outside of 19, where he only played 2 games, literally Ben has had double-digit picks the past 4 seasons. Then in 14, he had 9 picks, which would have still been 3 more than Lamar's. Then after that, he had a 14 and 13. And then in 2012, he still went for 8 picks. That was going to be 2 more than Lamar. Then he had 14 the year before that. You got to go all the way back to 2010 to pick a season where Ben has less picks and he had 5. So for me, and he only played 12 games that year. So for me, man, when you talk about Lamar versus Big Ben, and we're assuming both of them are going to be healthy, right? Because you assume that Ben is going to bounce back and be healthy and produce and the old Ben. Well, I got to assume with the same mindset that Lamar is going to play to his full potential and not be hurt and still go ahead and go out here and throw for 36 touchdowns and still rush for 1,200 yards. And if that's the case, then give me Lamar Jackson right now because that's the more productive player, the MVP, the All-Pro, the Pro Bowler.
Those are nice for the regular season. It's cool. It's cool in the regular season.
Uh-huh.
Can he win a playoff game? 0-2 in the playoffs. 2 bad performances. I know you want to talk about 500 total yards. Go ahead.
Let's talk. Go ahead.
28. I think it's in the 20s. I wrote it down. It's like a 20-something QBR in that game. He had a 63 rating. I know the stats are gaudy, but you could see the Titans were kind of cool with him racking up the yards. I mean, because they got up quick and Lamar couldn't come back. So we've seen Ben have clutch playoff performances. He's got 2 Super Bowls. He's been able to bring the Steelers back on multiple occasions in the playoffs in big moments. I just haven't seen it from Lamar. I mean, the regular season stats are cool. Like, I have him, as a top 5-6 quarterback in the league, hands down. But when you're matching him up against Ben, I'm taking Ben. You consider the whole body of work, everything he has done in the playoffs, and just even in general regular season. I know you want to say Lamar's regular season was just better than any of Ben's. He's got the MVP and all that, but dude, Ben is a Hall of Famer, just hands down all the body of work. But then you add the playoff success, and I know I could trust Ben in that arena. So that's why I'm going with Ben over Lamar. Lamar, he just hasn't proven it to me yet. It's as simple as that. I haven't seen it.
And I totally am with you when it comes to Ben in the playoffs. And you can go with the whole Super Bowl narrative, but once again, you're going to put a team stat on an individual because
no. But I've seen him come. I've seen him lead us back though in like a legitimate way.
Listen, let me talk. Your argument was that Ben has 2 Super Bowls. That's a team stat, correct?
It is.
That's a team stat. But what my debate or rebuttal to that would be how many MVPs does he have? Because that's more than individual. He doesn't have any. And we all can agree that first Super Bowl, that was not Ben going out there and being this dominant player. No, that was him being carried. So it is different. That's all I'm saying in that regard. Now, when we talk about the playoff success, absolutely. Ben has been more successful. It's not even close in the playoffs. But I will say this. I'm not going to hold Lamar's first playoff performance against him. The year where he took over mid-season, the offense wasn't even geared for Lamar. And he was playing against the Chargers, a team that he had just beat a couple weeks before. Because we talked about how difficult it is to beat a team and then play them again in 2 weeks and beat them again. We had that experience with the playoffs where in 2014, where we beat the Ravens handedly a couple of weeks prior to that. Had to play them in the wild card round, and we got smacked. So we've seen that before. It's not easy to do, so I'm not holding that against them. Last year's performance, the Titans were playing great. I don't have an issue with that. Like I said, he still produced. He racked up. It wasn't his best performance, but if his worst performance of the season was 500 total yards on offense, I think that's pretty good. So for me, that's my mentality when I look at Lamar in terms of his playoff performance. Now, this season going forward is going to be a big barometer in terms of where he is.
Yeah.
Because now we've seen him win an MVP. That's the best. I mean, for a regular season, that's the pinnacle. Ben, like I said, Ben doesn't have one of those. That's the pinnacle, right? So what's next for Lamar? Lamar is going to be gauged now what he does in the playoffs. That's what it comes down to now for Lamar. So I think for Lamar, that's the concern. That's the question mark. But when we're talking about who has the better setup for success this season, Baltimore has the better roster. We talked about this from offense and defense and special teams. They have the better roster. So he is going to be set up in a better position to be successful. Whereas Ben, number one, we're going to have some concerns on the offensive line. Outside of the big 3, when you're talking about Pouncey, DeCastro, and Al, you got 2 new guys that are going to be starting at guard and at tackle. Those are concerns. We talked about with James Conner. What does he look like this season? We talked about with Juju. What does he look like this season? So for Ben, he's going to be asked to do a lot more at 38, coming off of a year of not playing from the elbow surgery and also not having the OTAs, the mini camps, and the condensed training camp potentially. So it's a lot more concerns. So that's why for me, Lamar, not only do I feel is the better player right now, but he has the better setup for him to be successful this upcoming season.
Really? I actually feel better about our setup a little bit. I think we got the better receivers. And this is, I know you bring up the question marks. This is assuming everything's healthy, but I just think Ben being back, that's going to change the game for our offense. I just think...
I don't expect anything different from
I know,
you.
but dude, I don't know. I mean, we're 4 deep at receiver. We got 2 stud tight ends. And if James Conner returns to that form, I think that's a great setup for an offense and a quarterback coming in, to be honest with you. Ravens system is set up more for Lamar, but I think we got more names, to be honest with you.
So time out. Eric Ebron, Vance McDonald versus Mark Andrews, not close.
I'll take Mark Andrews, but we still got 2. We got 2 tight ends there, 2 really good tight ends.
Okay, well, still.
And then I'll take our receivers.
Okay, we can go with the receivers.
Running back, I'll give you running back. I'll give you Ingram over Conner right now, but older Ingram coming into this year.
You have J.K. Dobbins, who was the second-round pick coming in this year as well. What do we see?
But we talk about the rookies with the uncertainties and the COVID and the training camps, all that type of stuff. So I'd take, dude, I'll give you Ingram right now. I think Connor's going to have a better year than Ingram, though. I really do.
I don't know. So why do you think that, though? Where have you seen that?
I just think he's young. If he's healthy, it's as simple as that. I think Ben changes the game for the offense. That's what I really think.
Question mark with Mark Ingram. There isn't a if healthy because he's been healthy. There isn't a if he can do this because he's done it numerous times.
Right.
So that's why it's not a question mark with the Mark Ingram. You know what to expect. There isn't a question mark in that regard.
Well, dude, if we're talking aside from that though,
Aside from that, what do you mean?
Aside from that, just Connor healthy, Ingram healthy. Connor at his age, I mean,
Okay.
and with Ben coming back and just all the other weapons around us, I think he's going to have a baller year.
Okay, and I think he will too, but I also think Mark Ingram's going to play extremely well as well. Mark Ingram's a football player.
I think he could too. I just don't think in terms of the offensive setup, I don't know. I'd give us the nod.
Ravens are geared for Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram to flourish.
I understand that.
For James Conner to go for Ben to do what he does.
But then it goes back to just what we were talking about at the beginning when we were talking more or less Lamar versus Ben. Yeah. Is that conducive to be winning in playoffs? I know it could win. It could definitely win. Okay. But there are times where you get down, can you come back? And I think that was the thing that really killed the Ravens in that Titans game. They couldn't come back. The Titans were letting Lamar Jackson put up all those yards, waste the clock.
That all season when Tannehill took over, they got the lead and they're going to run the ball. That's what they do. So for me, I'm not going to hold one bad performance in a playoff game against Lamar because we've seen numerous times where average quarterbacks come in and might get hot or get on a run, and now their playoff record says one thing, but that doesn't have anything to do with their long-term success. So for me, I'm not going that route.
No, I think he'll be fine too. I'm just, when we're talking him versus Ben, that's kind of the thing I gotta bring up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We know how you feel about Ben, man. It's
dude, I don't know. I think he's gonna have a great year. I really do.
He will too, but I think it's fair to assume that if we're assuming Ben's gonna have a great year, I think that Lamar's gonna have a great year as well. I don't think that's out of the question. I don't think
it either. That's why I'm saying I'd put both of them in the top 5, 6. You know what I mean?
I think both of those things can happen. I think Mark Ingram and James Conner can have really good seasons this year. All I'm saying is, when I'm talking about right now in terms of predicting, it's easier to predict the Ravens' success because it's a lot less question marks. It's a lot less of, I hope this guy can do this, or I'm wishing this guy can do this. We've already seen these guys do this. That's the difference. So for me, that's why it's not a big question mark or can this take place? I already know it can because we've seen them do it numerous times. And that's when we're talking from a roster standpoint. We say, okay, Ben is the big X factor for the Steelers on offense, but there's still some question marks on that on that Steelers offense. Whereas when you're talking about the Ravens, their O-line is locked up. They're good there. Their running backs are good. Their biggest question mark on their offense right now is, can J.K. Dobbins produce and what the receiving rooms don't look like outside of Hollywood Brown? That's the biggest question mark right now. Whereas when you're talking about the Steelers offense, it's, okay, what is James Conner? Is James Conner the James Conner from year 2 where he went to the Pro Bowl? Or is he the other year where he didn't go and he looked, he was hurt a lot and he was dealing with the other things? For Juju, is Juju going to look like what he did the first 2 years when he had AD? Or is he going to look like last year when he was out there by himself and we saw how he didn't produce on that same type of level? That's the biggest, it's a lot more concerns offensively on the offensive line. We talked about how before they made the move before Ramon Foster retired, the Steelers had the oldest offensive line in the league. So when we're talking about that element of it, granted, they got 2 new pieces. Now you're going to have Matt Fowler potentially starting at left guard, in between Zach Banner and Chooks Okorafor starting at right tackle. Those are still going to be question marks. Whereas when you're looking at the Ravens offensive line, Ronnie Stanley is one of the best left tackles in the league. It's not even a debate. So when we go down the list of the players that they have on their offensive line and the team that they have constructed from an offensive standpoint, it's a lot less questions. And then defensively, the pickup of Calais Campbell was huge. Obviously, Derek Wolfe is another guy, Super Bowl champ, that has been was balling out last year before he got hurt in a contract year. That addition is going to be big. Matthew Judon, he's proven to be successful. He's a consistent player. Pernell McPhee, I think he's past his prime. I thought his best years were his first tenure with the Ravens, but now since he's left, he dealt with the injuries and he's just not the same player. But Patrick Queen, that's a huge pickup for them in the draft. Huge pickup. In their secondary, you put them up there with anyone, but between Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, that's 2 old pros right there. And then you still got Earl Thomas in the back. So for me, I just feel like from a roster standpoint, they are more complete right now.
All right. So hold on. This is the thing then. I guess what I would say as the rebuttal just for the Ravens and even Lamar Jackson is the biggest question mark for them is just, I haven't seen them do it in the playoffs. Is this conducive to winning in that way? Whereas probably the biggest knock versus the Steelers is just question marks of health, correct? That's probably...
Not just health, but productivity. We haven't seen Juju as a number one receiver yet. We haven't.
I just think a lot of that's with Ben, and that's why I go back to health. You know what I mean?
Well, that's enough. But I look at it like it's less about health, because if that's the case, if Deontay Johnson and James Washington would have had bad seasons also, because they didn't have Ben either.
Yeah, but Juju was hurt though too. He was hurt for a good portion of the season.
Understandable, but he still wasn't producing when he was healthy.
No, correct. I don't know. I feel like if he would have been in the system a little bit more and not as hurt as he was, I'm sure a rule could have been carved out for him.
We'll never know.
We will never know. But yeah, I'm taking Steelers. I'm taking Ben. So you got Lamar and Ravens over Ben and the Steelers right now. Well, I guess we're just talking quarterbacks. We'll get to but it seems like you're leaning that way in terms of the AFC North standings right now. Ravens over Steelers. Am I wrong?
We'll get to that right now.
I got Steelers though. So then we got 3 and 4 here for the AFC North quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. This one is like actually a low key. Like I knew 1 and 2 was gonna be some back and forth probably, but like I don't know where you're landing on this, but I think this was a tough decision for me. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah,
dude, I'm going. I went back and forth, dude. I want to say Burrow at 3. I just really do, but I think you got to give it to Baker. I think last year he had a bad situation for him. Freddie Kitchens. It was just a mess with all the hype and everything going into it. I think his offense is actually retooled and is even going to be better. Like he's got more weapons with Austin Hooper. You got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb both together for a full season now. I'm sure this new offensive coordinator from the Vikings, Stefanski, he's going to come in and I think this could be a top 3, you correct me if I'm wrong, top 3 just offensive setup. We were talking about setups for Ravens and Steelers. This might be the top 3 offensive setup in the league for a quarterback. Outside of the line, maybe you could say it's a middle-of-the-road line, but didn't they pick up someone? They picked up Conklin, right?
They upgraded their offensive line. So they picked up Jack Conklin, but then they also drafted Jedrick Wills, who was one of the
from Alabama.
Going to be the number 1 or number 2 tackle off the board, so that's a major pickup. And then I'm still I think JC Treader, he's a guy who's had success as well. And then they still have Joe I think it's Bitonio as well. They have shored up their offensive line a ton this year, so that was the big issue with them last year. They just couldn't protect Baker. I mean, we saw that in person a little bit when we went to that Browns game. But now that they've shored up that offensive line, from an offensive standpoint, they have a chance to be a top offense in this league, because we know star power wise what they have from the skill position with OBJ, Jarvis, Austin Hooper. That's a major.
They have Njoku as their second tight end, who's a stud too, if he could stay healthy.
Yeah, and then your running backs, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So when you talk about your running back tandems, I don't think you're going to find a better 1-2 punch than those two guys. So for them, from an offensive standpoint, that's probably the best offensive setup that you can have right now.
Yeah, and I just think anything is going to be better than what happened with the Browns and Baker last year. Just with Kitchens as a coach, I mean, that was, I don't want to say it was a failure waiting to happen, just because I don't want to say that I knew, but there were people like Colin Cowherd. There were certain people saying like Browns are going to be a disaster this year because of the coach, and we saw how that played out. So I think you bring in Stefanski. He seems like he knows what he's doing, and he knows how he wants to run an offense. And Baker just has, if we're talking Baker versus Burrow, Baker has at least 2 NFL seasons under his belt where he was confident his rookie year, actually pretty good his rookie year for the most part. And then last year obviously wasn't good, but 2 years experience. And then with the setup he has coming back, I just think you got to give that nod with Baker over Burrow. And he, just as a basis, really, I don't know if Baker's going to go off this year, but I think Burrow coming in with the inexperience, then being with the Bengals, we talk about this, every couple podcasts, just the uncertainty of the offseason with rookies coming in. And then, both are going to be going up against AFC North competition. But, Baker has seen that before. I think it could be a little bit more difficult for Burrow going up for his first year going up against the Steelers and Ravens like that. So that's me.
Yeah. No, man, I agree 100%, man. When you're talking about the Browns setup for Baker, it's perfect. And when you talk about this offseason in terms of you not having the OTAs and the mini camps, at least you have a guy who already has 2 years experience. He understands the grind, the rigors of an NFL offseason, NFL season, how to prepare for it mentally and physically. So for me, I'm going Baker Mayfield at 3. And when you're talking about from an offensive standpoint, Joe Burrow, he's already going to be behind the 8 ball because of this offseason, but he's thrown right into the fire because they got rid of Andy Dalton. They didn't even need to do that, but they got rid of him, and now he's not even going to have a vet to look to learn from. At least if Dalton was there for a game or two, kind of like what we saw with Tyrod Taylor, and Baker had a chance to learn from Tyrod, figure out, okay, how to watch the film at this level, how to lead at this level. And then when you took
lower expectations even, just in general, yeah.
Whereas now with them getting rid of Dalton, who's Burrow going to look to? Ryan Finley? Hey, Ryan, dude, it's not a chance. So when I look at that, and then I look at the Bengals offensive line, it's still very, very bad. Now, granted, you still have Jonah Williams. That's going to be a big question mark in terms of him and his health because he missed last season. But outside of that, their offensive line is terrible, so he's not going to be protected. Now, from a receiver standpoint, I love his group. I told you why I had them ranked as the best wide receiver group because they in the division because they got A.J. Green, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Those 3 right there can ball. And like I said, we're projecting with T. Higgins, but we saw what T did at Clemson. And so for me, like, I'm very confident in that. But outside of those guys and Joe Mixon, there isn't a lot around. You know what I mean? In terms of the health of that offensive line, in terms of productivity of the offensive line. And then also, like I said, with A.J. Green, you're still hoping and banking that he can come back to a form of what he was, 2 years ago now? But there's still going to be some concerns with that. Whereas with Joe, he hasn't had the opportunity to make a stand, like to have already experienced what it's like to be in the NFL, to lead these men, to understand a 16-game season, the physicality, mentally and physically that goes with that. So that's why for me, I have him at the 4th quarterback in this in the AFC North.
Yeah, I do think Burrow's been making all the right moves here, just from the outside looking in. I know he definitely had some of that moxie and bravado in college. Like actually, both of them did, Baker and Burrow. Okay. But it seems like ever since Burrow's gotten drafted, he's been just kind of like low key and just been humble about things. So I think he's been playing it right so far. Yeah, I was trying to think, man, can I really put Burrow over Baker right now? I just don't think I can. I couldn't really make an argument for it. I kept trying to reach for things, but it just made way more sense that Baker is at the 3 spot and Burrow is 4. So, yeah, I guess we agree on that then.
We could definitely agree on.
Now, is that it then? Anything else you want to touch on with the quarterbacks? Anything else?
No, I think we covered it all, man, with the AFC North quarterbacks, man. So I think that was good. We talked about Cam and the Patriots. We even got in a Bills Patriots combo. And anytime we get to talk Buffalo, I get it. And then we talk NASCAR, man. So yeah, I'm good, baby. I think we solid.
I'm good, dude. Yeah, I enjoyed this. This is a lot of fun.
No doubt. And so we appreciate everybody for tuning in and all the subscribers on YouTube, man. We appreciate y'all. Big shout out for that as well, man. So thanks again, and until next time.
Peace.